5:05, why don't we go ahead and get started? As no other council members are present, I'll assume chair of the committee and proceed us forward in limited fashion. Please note my attendance, mayor attendance, staff attendance as appropriate, and we'll move on just in case there are any public comments wishing to be made. Please either raise your hand online or raise your hand in presence here. All right, seeing no hands, we'll go ahead and proceed forward with the rest of the agenda. I don't think it's urgent, so I do request that the approval of the minutes be taken to next committee meeting. So we'll forego the approval of minutes and move right into agenda bills. With agenda bill 23091, amendment of public work contract with CPM Development Corporation, DBA Icon Materials Incorporated for the 2023 overlay project. Assume you're here to educate us on this one.
Explain it, correct. So as you recall, we bid both the 2023 overlay project and the Parkway, Snoqualmie Parkway projects together at the same time. The same low bidder won both contracts, and that is Icon. Initially, we had planned to pave as much in this summer as we had budget to allow for. And because we got such good pricing with for asphalt, we found that we had additional money, and it made sense at this point to go ahead and pave the rest of Mill Pond Road to connect with the previous pavement job that we had done last year or 2 years ago when we paved Reining Road. So we do have a definite starting and stopping point. This will add, I think, what is it about? I can't remember how many feet, but it's 6,000 square yards of grind and overlay. And it's an additional $100,000, and it is within our budget for the 2023 overlay program.
Drew, all right, we'll have a discussion. The only question I have is if you're coming under budget, got more than enough to cover this. We have several projects which are not.
We have other things that we want to bring forward next summer in the biennial budget, which will be pavement preservation projects. So we still have another $437,139 left over after this project is complete.
Okay. No, I'm just trying, again, if you've completed, you've done above and beyond, you've completed your scope, you're adding some scope, you still have 400 and some thousand left over. What is the consideration of that to offset overruns on other projects within the same?
We could potentially do that. I don't know that we need to. I think that it's important that we keep up with our pavement preservation program, because there are low cost techniques that we can employ now on schedule, which reduce our pavement maintenance budget in the long run if we stay on schedule. Of course, you know, if we don't stay on schedule, then we have deferred maintenance issues, and those can get really expensive with pavements.
But the older it gets, the more it costs to make it exponentially.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. All right, again, suggest we move forward just because of attendance, non-consent, and proceed on to council.
Okay.
Next Monday. All right, let's go to the next agenda bill. We'll get back up to the top. Agenda bill AB 23092, resolution number 1651, adopting the water system plan and water use efficiency goals.
Correct. So as you recall back in, well, maybe you recall, it's been a while, back in July 26, 2021, we had a roundtable discussion where we went through and we had everybody in council, gave them actually 2 months to review the plan and make comments. And at the time we got very few comments. We passed a resolution in September of 2021. And then we submitted our plans to the agencies for review. This, of course, was during COVID, so there was some delays in getting any responses back from the agencies. It took quite a while. We have responded now to all of the agency comments. Our responses to all those are included in the agenda packet under Appendix P, and you can read them. It really just addresses some specific comments that they had. The comments were remarkably minimal, comparatively, considering what this document is. And we have, yeah. And then also we wanted to pass, because this required a public hearing, the water use efficiency goals, of which those are also listed as Appendix F to this agenda bill. And that includes, various, the 2 efficiency goals, and then what were called select water use efficiency measures, which we have adopted. And of course, that is part of Appendix F, is spelled out pretty clearly. Now, the water use efficiency goals, of course, were part of the, was reviewed by public. We did get public comments from the tribe on the water use efficiency goals, but we addressed those in a specific letter to the tribe.
Okay.
And of course, there's no budget impact to this.
Right, but this is a guiding document for
What
future things that will have budget impact.
Correct. So what the Department of Health is the one who eventually will approve this. And the Department of Health will not approve the water system plan unless it has been adopted by council. So that is really the purpose of this, bringing this here, is to get council approval, or council to adopt the water system plan, so that we can get approval from DOH, and then we're good to go with the water system plan for the next 10 years.
I need to read. All right. So the first question,
Mhm.
in the population growth targets,
Yes.
how does Snoqualmie Hills West roll into the discussion here?
So when we were developing the plan, Snoqualmie Hills West was something that was obviously not moving forward, but still a potential project.
Right.
You'd probably
This
somebody
plan
develop
goes out.
within the urban growth area. It's a possibility that the right developer will show up. Of course, they would have to probably bring their own water to do that, to make that development. But we have to put it in there to say this is a potential growth area for us. And so when we add up those numbers, so we can't really say that we're going to have any growth, because there's nothing firm on the books at that point, at that time. But it could grow as much as, X, Y, Z, or whatever the full build out condition is that we wanted to consider for. So that is addressed in the report. Those numbers came from our community development department. And those were based on, I think, Growth Management Act mandates. So we had to include those, and as noted by the agencies, it says you don't really have sufficient water resources to account for all of that development. And our answer to that is, of course, the city is exploring other, water rights. We have 2 water right applications in with the Department of Ecology, and we're including the ASR project, the Aquifer Storage and Recovery Project, which we are moving forward with right now. We recently got well, not recently, I guess it's been 2 years now, that we got a grant from Ecology to study the potential for aquifer storage and recovery. And that feasibility study has just begun.
Okay, but we did have. So when they asked to annex last time, we did have some water rights and water in the plan. Won't say water rights, inappropriate. We had water in the plan projecting for them. I think it was. 600, 900 units. But they came by with a plan that required 1,200 units. And that was the basis for rejection for annexation.
It's in Snoqualmie Hills.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Isn't that 600, 900 ERU plans, ERU requirements still in the plan?
So it doesn't really work like that. It's not like there's 650 ERUs that are out there to be allocated. It depends largely on what we call what our ERU, what our water usage is and how much an ERU is. So that is kind of that changes over time. So if we become more efficient with our use of water, then we have more ERUs, excuse me. So part of our plan with our water use efficiency is to reduce our consumption. Now we've done that quite a lot, with the Greek Street project, Tree Streets projects, the infrastructure improvement projects that we have. We've reduced our distribution system leakage rate from something like 12% down to about 7%. And we're going to continue on that road. So now we're losing less water, so we have more water. So our total usage is reduced. So our possibility or our ability to expand has increased. So that's partially reflected in this water system plan. So we haven't, well, there is an assessment of how many ERUs are available or how much water is available to us. And it's in the plan. In our 2040 growth projections, or looking way out down the road, we don't have enough water currently to support that much growth. But if our aquifer storage and recovery project is successful, if our water use efficiency measures are successful, if we are able to reduce our peaking factor, the variables that go into managing the water system, if we're able to increase our efficiencies, then we can perhaps recover or exceed our needs going out to 2040. And that's what the plan is really for, is to make us be smarter about how we use our water.
I'm not sure I asked the question you answered, but
Oh, I'm sorry.
don't worry.
Maybe I misunderstood.
Don't worry.
I got other answers.
I have that. I do that all day long.
Okay. I think Michelle.
No, it's just
Okay.
at one stage,
Mhm.
we had a definition of what an ERU is.
Right.
I don't believe we've revised that, but we had a
Yeah.
definition of ERU. And we said, again, I think it was 900 ERUs were accounted for in the plan based on expected growth. And I'm just using Snoqualmie Hills West as example.
Yeah.
As a future requirement and that our plan needed to support.
Yes.
Okay. In your discussion, you said Snoqualmie Hills West, in order to come in, would have to bring their own water.
Depending on the size of the development. Yeah.
But is that 900 or X amount that we originally planned for Snoqualmie Hills West and, put what other development we had on there still in there? I'm just trying to figure out where the line is. I mean, do we have enough to what we projected we thought we were going to grow in the near term, at least anyway, that the long-term growth may have issues and we need to address those.
Yeah.
But at least near term, there were ERUs in the plan to support those.
Yes.
And we would probably do that. Now, if they want to build, not that we would ever approve a high-rise New York style building,
Yeah.
on Snoqualmie Hills West, but if they wanted to do that, they would have to bring any water rights above and beyond what was already in the plan for them.
Perhaps, yeah, if we get to that point, it may be there. Yeah, we may be there. But you recall the Salish development, those were allocations back then, that we had, and that's gone, right? So now, that's water that's available to us. So it doesn't count against another developer. But the mill site now, has, well, phase one has enough water. Phase 2 and 3, we haven't seen a real definite proposal from them. All we saw was pie in the sky numbers with, 5,000 jobs and all that stuff, which is, I mean, how much credibility do you give that? I mean, they did run it through our permitting process, so we have to acknowledge that. But it doesn't mean that we have enough water to support some massive development out of the mill site. We'll have to take a closer look at that when we get there. The line that we have is a kind of a fuzzy line. There's allocations for the ridge development, which will probably never be utilized, right? There's potentially a lot more water with our ASR project, up to 140 acre feet of water annually. So I mean, it's a moving target to some degree. We're doing our best to try to gain more water resources for, to support ourselves and our growth.
Sure.
And resiliency, of course, is another big factor for us, right? So, but at this point, we're kind of looking through a keyhole, down the road to try to figure out, where we're going to be in 10, 20 years.
Right.
And it's somewhat difficult to tell because it's not a diminishing resource, it's a finite resource.
Fine.
Right. And
There's a diminishing rate of growth
yeah.
in the heat of summer.
Well, yeah. And there's other people, as the region grows, there's more people that have designs on it. There's regulatory changes that we have to address. The Wire 7, the state is looking to offset a lot of these wells that are being developed, what are called, I always forget the name of these things. It's rather than getting a water right, if you own a development or a small piece of property, you can drill your own well, an exempt well. They call them exempt wells. So they don't have a water right. You get a permit to drill to support yourself and your house or your small developments like Class B type, less than 17 connections. You can get a permit to do a well. So they anticipate up to 20,000 new exempt wells in the Wire 7 basin. That's, the Snoqualmie, Snohomish basin.
Water.
So they have to offset that somehow, right? Because those are not supported by water rights. Everyone who has a water right still has a water right. It's just all these straws going into the ground, sucking water out. How are they going to offset that? So that's why they like our aquifer storage and recovery idea, because we are actively taking water from the springs, pushing it into our own aquifer and pumping it up every year. Right? And so every summer when we come into the dry season, like now, we have a full aquifer that supports flows to the river. Really, that's really what their main concern is. How do we maintain flows in the river? When you got all these straws in the ground, sucking the water table down, it actually pulls water out of the river. You have this, receding reach, from the water, the river actually loses water, where in the winter time you got high ground water and it flows into the river. So part of what these ASR projects will do is to try to pump more water into the ground to offset all of these exempt wells. And so I think there's a fairly good prospect that we'll get more water through our ASR program if we are successful. It depends quite a bit on the pilot study that we do.
Is that part of the water plan though? That is.
It is noted in the water plan in our responses with regard to growth.
Okay. Michelle Campbell from RH2 also like to make a comment regarding that.
Yeah.
She has her hand up.
Oh, okay. Go ahead, Michelle.
Hi, good evening. So I just wanted to note regarding the Snoqualmie Hills West project. We do have development in there in our projections for that project starting in 2026. We have it is minimal growth for population. And these are numbers that came from your planning department, but we have 28 people added in starting in 2026 to the city. And then in terms of employment, we were assuming that about 143 new jobs would come into that development. So nothing in the order of, I think that you were saying in the 800 ERU range. So it's quite a bit less than what you were noting.
Okay.
And like Jeff said, this is kind of a bit of a moving target. How much is available for Snoqualmie Hills West depends on how much you're able to, be more efficient with the water that you use, how successful the ASR project and other, and other water projects are in the city, how much more, efficient your current customers can be in their water usage as well.
And my memory of the Snoqualmie Hills Rest, other than they came in with a number Y, which was much bigger than the number X we had in the plan.
Right.
That's probably where I should have left that conversation. But I just want to make sure that we still had X in the plan for something out of them. Although your numbers are significantly smaller than prior visions out there.
Which numbers?
She was 28
Oh, right, yeah, that's right.
resident-
Yeah, we,
28 residential units and 140 jobs. They,
right. Yeah, that's much less than what that developer was proposing.
it's much less than what the developer, I think it was much less than what we previously had in the platform too.
Yeah.
But my memory's not that deep. Okay. And I'm just doing conversation.
Yeah, I understand.
Trying to, I'm not picking on anything, just understanding. Okay. Proposal same on this is we move it forward out of here and put it as non-consent. May reconsider the consent status of that in FNA. Assuming I have other committee members in FNA.
Right, okay. So do you want me to come to FNA and present this as well?
No.
Okay. Great, okay.
It's a nice out, go home.
Hey, thank you.
Troy.
Thank you.
All right,
All right,
what else we got on there?
I think that's it.
Thank you.
Thank you, Michelle.
Oh, come on, go back to the top. There we go. All right, discussion and adjournment. Any further discussion for the committee? All right, unless there are objections, I'll move to adjournment. No objections, we're adjourned.
Great.